Um, okay, so this is the Kubernetes community meeting. Today is June 16th, and we have a fun agenda ahead of us. We're going to hear from ElasticKube talking about the Jenkins plugin. We're going to hear about the 1.3 release, the 1.3 features update, some SIG reports, and some new and exciting online and future community events. So let's go with Alberto. Tell us more about ElasticKube.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. Well, you already know a little bit about ElasticKube. We did the presentation a couple of months ago. First, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Alberto Arias. Some of you might have heard that Elasticbox has been acquired by CenturyLink. It's on the news. We are very excited about that. We believe that that is going to give us the resources to access and scale that we didn't have access before. Our mission is going to be to enable hybrid cloud across the enterprises. And of course, Kubernetes is a pillar of that strategy. Over the last couple of years, we have invested a lot in Jenkins. We built something called ElasticBox Jenkins plugin. And what we wanted to do is use that know-how and expertise to bring some of those use cases to the Kubernetes space. And for that, we built what we call right now the Kubernetes CI plugin. We are focusing on three main use cases. We are focusing first on having an integrated experience with Kubernetes, such as when you deploy Jenkins, it's very easy to set up the link between Kubernetes and Jenkins. Second, we wanted to automate the Jenkins slave lifecycle, make it very easy to launch jobs that run in containers. Some of the use cases, there's other plugins in the community, and we will discuss that in a minute. And finally, as charts becoming the artifact to encapsulate the application end-to-end description, we wanted to make it very easy to deploy and manage charts using build the steps. The plugin is available in Elasticbox GitHub repo. The name is Kubernetes CI plugin. The license is Apache 2.0 MIT, and we are accepting contributions using the same CLA than Kubernetes. Right now, the plugin is only available through the release tab on GitHub, but we are waiting for the Jenkins folks to accept it as part of the list of plugins that you can install right from the UI of Jenkins. So let's jump into the goodies. So I have a Kubernetes cluster. Just want to make sure, can you guys see now kind of a split screen thing? Or you're still seeing the PowerPoint?
We can see your split screen.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a Kubernetes cluster that is running in a single machine, and I'm managing that Kubernetes cluster using ElasticKube. So the first thing that I'm going to do is launch a Jenkins server. So I click new.
Small though, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
The font. Oh, that's plenty large. Thanks.
What about that?
Yep. Great.
Awesome. So I'm selecting now a Jenkins chart. This is the deployment flow from ElasticKube. So I click select and then click deploy. And of course, that only takes a few seconds. Now I have a Jenkins service up and running. And so able to access it. Yep, right there from the other IP address. Basically, there's a replication controller that is running the Jenkins servers, and there is a service. Right now, I'm just using a node port mapping to be able to access that Jenkins server. You can use whichever service you want. And it should be, okay, of course. There you go. Okay, so Jenkins is up and running. I'm going to go ahead and install the plugin. This only takes a few seconds. I go to manage plugins. The plugin will be available through this list very shortly. Right now, I have to upload it by hand until the folks of Jenkins publish it. So I'll click upload. It will take about 20 seconds. one of the features that we added to this plugin is auto discovery. So what is going to happen is that once the plugin is installed, this Jenkins is running within that cluster. So it's going to find that there's a secret that is already there that contains the token. So I don't have to go and input any credentials. If I go now to Manage Jenkins and go to Configure System, you will see that the plugin section is there, and it has found the IP address of the cluster, and it has also found the token that is stored as a secret, and everything is ready to go. Also, there is the capability to configure the repo where we're going to pull the charts. These charts will be available as deployment steps, and I'm going to demo that in a second. And also slave configurations. You can just put some YAML that describes a pod, and that is going to be used as a template to create the slaves. Those slaves will automatically call back to that Jenkins server and be used to execute whatever build steps need to be running on that on those slaves. So I don't have to do anything. It's up and ready. Just installing the plugin in a Jenkins that is running inside the Kubernetes cluster. Pretty much auto configures. You don't have to do anything else to get it started. So what I'm going to do is create a job. This is a freestyle job. Let's say Jenkins demo. And I'm going to use one of the build steps that we have implemented as part of this plugin. It's called Kubernetes deploy chart. So here you see the options that I have. First is the cloud, that is the connection to the Kubernetes. That was part of the configuration, the repository that I'm going to be using, and this automatically kind of pulls the charts from that repo, and I can just select the chart that I want to deploy. So let's use example to do. Also, after I run this job, I want to automatically clean up that chart. So I'm going to say, hey, delete all the artifacts of that chart after this job finishes. I'm also going to add execute salt job, and this is just to show how the slave is going to be created in the cluster. It's going to wait for 20 seconds, and then we're going to do echo done. So this is my job. I'll click save. It's ready, and what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to run it. So click build. You can see it's a schedule. All right, so you can see the slave is coming up. It's being created. It's up and running. And then let's see if we can see the console output. You can see the example chart is being deployed. You can see here the logs. Deploying chart, example to do is deployed. Now we're waiting 20 seconds. And once it's done, it should clean up the chart and remove the slaves. So there you go. Everything now is cleaned up. So these are the two use cases that we wanted to start off, being able to kind of mimic some of the processes that we have in Elasticbox. There's the ability to run an environment, run some tests, and clean it up, and make that experience extremely easy. We're going to do further investments, and we're going to make it really easy to have a single sign-on across Kube API server, ElasticKube, and Jenkins. So as you have a single set of credentials, and you can just access all of these environments without having to do any configuration. Other investments that we are doing is that we gather feedback from the community. We're really looking forward to your feedback. Is implement other steps that would allow us to do things like rolling updates and canary deployments, and of course interlace those with other build steps that you might use using Jenkins. And folks, those are the things that we want to show you. And I'll take some questions. I just want to answer a couple of questions before I take your questions, because we have been getting those questions from a lot of other people. So what is the difference between the Kubernetes and the Kubernetes CI plugin? We are investing resources on this Kubernetes CI. This is not a side project. We have dedicated engineers. And we've been talking to the other folks that are building the Kubernetes plugins, and right now it's kind of like a side project. We wanted to execute really fast. So we wanted to first implement these use cases and then go back to the community and say, okay, does it make sense to merge these projects? And what is the process to collaborate to do that? But given that the investment was going to be asymmetrical, we want to first do these things in our own and then work with the community to merge those efforts. Other question that we get is that, do you plan to support anything else than GitHub? For now, we're only going to support GitHub. Most of the charts are there. As we get feedback from the community and there's more people that might be interested in running other things, we'll work with them to implement other ways of pulling those charts and connect to other systems. And that's about it, guys. I'll take your questions now.
Thanks, Alberto. Does anybody have questions? I didn't see any pop up in the chat as we were going. And how can people get a hold of you? Oh, and can you post links? There we go. All right, anybody else for questions? Alberto, can you put a couple of notes into the agenda document about your key points that you wanted to do, or you wanted to get forward, and the links and all of that, so that we can have a record of this, because we didn't actually have anybody taking notes during that.
Perfect. I'll upload the slides and put a link there.
Thanks so much. And that, of course, leads me to my pitch of, we do need notes from all of this. So if somebody could take notes as we go through the 1.3 update and the 1.3 planning and feature tracking updates, that would be super helpful. So hopefully we will get some note taking.
Perfect. Well, thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you so much, Alberto. And up next is TJ Gulterman talking about where we are with 1.3 release.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. We are close on the 1.3 release. So just a quick update. We plan to release June 24th. That's next Friday. So 6-7 business days, depending on what side of the world you're on from now. We branched for beta last week, and we did a fast forward to pull in all the latest fixes, I believe yesterday or the day before. And now David McMahon is struggling through getting assorted verify scripts to work just right to get the beta build out. So we had hoped that would be yesterday. It was not yesterday. It ought to be today, this morning, this afternoon. He's working on that. So that will get us a beta release out on the GitHub releases. And then from then forward, right now we are treating the blocking bugs as any P0 or P1 bug that is in the 1.3 milestone. And so that right now we have 2 P0s and we have 24 P1s. So we're looking at 26 total bugs that we need to get fixed, tested, and verified before we can release. That was a much higher number a day or two ago. We were at maybe 60 or 70. And so we did a pretty hard triage to get down to those 26 bugs left. So once we fix and merge those 26 bugs, we obviously have docs to work on, quite a bit of work there to get the docs all set. But otherwise, that's the work that remains to release next Friday.
Is there any help that you need against this, other than potentially helping with documentation, if there are opportunities there?
I think it's mostly documentation. Now that the number of bugs we have down is just to a few dozen, they have someone actively looking at them. So we're no longer in the case of like, oh, we have a bunch of unassigned ones, or we're not getting traction on certain ones. Okay.
And the burn down meetings continue Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Anybody have questions about 1.3? Awesome. All right. Well, then let's go on to the feature documentation piece of this.
Actually, I'm sorry. I had a real quick question.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I was trying to take notes there. Could you elaborate on the docs for 1.3 again? I wasn't sure if there was like are we just supposed to be contributing the docs to master, or is there a release 1.3 branch that we should be using and stuff like that? I wasn't sure. Like, so there's this whole like life cycle of when things are going to get cut for the beta. I don't know what the same thing is for the docs.
Yeah, so we actually moved docs a little while ago to a separate repo as well, but we're kind of in a half state where I think some are in the Kubernetes repo and some are in the GitHub docs repo.
Can I answer this, TJ?
Yeah, I actually don't know, Brian. That'd be great.
Yeah, so docs for user-facing features should go into the kubernetes.github.io repo. There is a release 1.3 branch in that repo. 1.3 specific features should have PRs targeting that branch.
Aaron, I muted you.
Aaron?
Thank you. I guess that makes sense. So right now, if I want to make sure that something gets in the docs for the upcoming release, I should be putting it in the release 1.3 branch, not the master branch. And I should be doing this in the docs repo, not the Kubernetes repo.
That is correct.
But only if it's a user-facing feature.
So the docs that still remain in the main repo are just the developer-oriented docs for the people hacking on Kubernetes itself. So docs devel and the proposals and design docs. So I wouldn't expect for 1.3 at this late stage that you would have any of those kinds of docs that would go in the main repo. We really need to be focusing on documentation for users of Kubernetes at this point. So those should all go into the docs repo.
Does that give you enough answers, Aaron?
I think so. And so the last thing I just wanted to clear up is right now, if I were to commit something to the master branch of the docs repo, it'd be release 1.2 facing features, right? So if there's no place for like one. Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Yes, I mean, currently the master branch is 1.2 related things. We're reevaluating that approach, but because of the way GitHub stages the docs, what we have to do to publish the docs is actually copy them to other orgs in GitHub to easily stand up sites like Kubernetes.io for different versions. So definitely this could be improved a lot, and if someone is interested in helping make that more sane, please reach out to me.
Which leads me to something that Philip wanted to work on today, which is creating a special interest group around docs. So that will be kicked off today, would be my suspicion, or at least this week sometime. So we'll have a space. Wow, it just went dark in here. We'll have a space for the for community people to meet up with all of the people internally at Google that are working on docs as well. So that will be getting started today. You'll have Slack channels, you'll have email groups, etc. All the usual things.
Okay, let me just say one more thing in context of 1.3. I'm pasting a sheet in right now, thanks to the incredibly hard work of Mike and Ihor. We are finishing out the tracking of what everything was significant in 1.3.
David, Mike
yeah.
and Ihor are up next on the agenda.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we are.
Mike and Ihor, David is doing your intro.
Nope, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem, David. I suppose you'll have something to add to that stuff that we are going to present. So first of all, I'd like to let you know that you have posted a bit drawn spreadsheet because this one is a bit outdated. We have re-implemented the actual spreadsheet, and I've created like the new vision of the spreadsheet. How does this should look like? I've posted it here to the chat, and let me share my screen as well. Yeah. So in this spreadsheet has been originally deeply involved, deeply I used a lot of features that have been added by Mike Saparov to his original document that we've been working on, and we've reviewed on the our previous meeting. And in this spreadsheet, I've split it into 3 subsheets the actual features that we have at the moment. So the first sheet is the features that we have in 1.3. The next one is that features that have the milestone as 1.4 or next milestone. And the latest are like the proposals that don't have any like actual milestone, but work on them is in the progress and actively researched by the community. So using this spreadsheet, I've created a wiki page in my own space, in my own fork of the GitHub. Yes, so you can find it, yeah. It's difficult to find the chat here. Oh yeah, I found it when I'm sharing the screen. Yeah, so I've created this. It's like more like a draft, more like a mock-up of how can we use wiki pages for tracking the actual release features. So we may simply like take a look at the actual information on that feature that's going to be implemented. We may take a look at its current stage, its status, all the necessary information that we require from that. At the same time, I might propose to move this stuff to the community repo because we have like this. So to community repo, because as far as I notice, we have already released 1.4 here, and I suppose that would be a better place to work on the actual features here. So this is like the major job that we've been done during the last time regarding the features that have to be involved into 1.3 have to be added. So any questions, any suggestions on this item?
First off, this is amazing. This is exactly what we need. May I suggest rather than it being in the community repo, it goes into the features repo?
To features repo. Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I've noticed that we already have something in the community repo. I suppose that might be a good place. At the same time, yeah, features repo is.
Oh, you passed it. There it is.
Yeah, so features repo should be like an amazing place. Yeah. Yeah. I may do the same. At the current moment, we don't have Wiki. And another question: do we really need that as Wiki? Or possibly we may simply put that into like the subdirectory, release 1.3, and put the markdown files there. It should be easier to maintain because I received a lot of pain trying to fork, trying to push something to my local fork of the wiki, working with the generic repos is much easier on GitHub.
I would recommend a directory and markdown files. The wiki, its own extra special pain.
I'm more than open to that. I actually really like the idea of it being pull requests and so on. I think it means everything's in one flow, meaning like it's issues or pull requests and that's it in this particular repo. Sorry, Brian, you were going to say something?
Yeah. And so I think the advantage of pull requests is that pretty much anybody can create a pull request and propose a change. The disadvantage is that it creates a workflow around it. So it's actually a barrier to maintaining it. So it all depends on what we expect. If we expect someone to be responsible for being the gatekeeper, then PR workflow makes sense. If we want to sort of shard ownership for people keeping things up to date, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So the point of both the features and the community repos is that we're going to be pretty permissive with giving people write access to those repos to try to crowdsource keeping things up to date and keeping track of information. I don't really care, except that I probably will not ever create a PR just because I need to do fire and forget. I have thousands of things to keep track of, and I can never go back to something pretty much after I'm done with it. So that's my personal opinion, but...
So how would you, can you go a little bit deeper there? What would, you would prefer a wiki?
just my experience, if I were going to create a PR, I would create a PR. And if anything needed to be changed or, God forbid there would be any tests or whatever that would prevent that from just being merged, I would pretty much never get back to it. And it would just, someone would eventually have to close it.
Within the features and community repo, if we're making this permissive, people can just create a PR and merge it themselves.
Yeah, it would be better if someone will LGTM that, but yeah, it will be more flexible than working with the core Kubernetes repo.
And that kind of removes the point of it being a PR, in my opinion. But
yeah, but PR will also allow you to track that. It will be much easier than tracking simply the changes in Wiki.
Yeah,
so I'm upvoting for the classic PR and Markdown files in the specific directories, and possibly. So Sarah may comment a bit why we have moved SIG space from Kubernetes repo wiki to the dedicated wiki. So I suppose one of the reasons was the same. So we shouldn't every time push someone to make some minor change. Yes.
So I would argue that the permissiveness of those spaces allow you to merge your own PR, but if you want comments, you ping someone on it, that there's not an expected, someone will approve your.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's make that roughly the plan for Kubernetes. Kubernetes community?
Yeah. So in terms of the wiki, what I found it's really good for is keeping it in sync with issues and PRs. Mm-hmm. For things which have a lot of churn, where you just need to keep multiple things up to date, wiki is really handy for that because you can just edit it. If I can basically achieve the same thing through a PR, I don't really have a strong opinion. I mean, both have versioning and whatever, so it's fine. We can give it a try. And all the roadmaps we've ever done in the past started as docs, but they were too hard to update, so we eventually abandoned them.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Well, let's give this a shot. And so what I was going to say at the beginning was that we're trying to close this down right now. So 413. So please take a look at Ihor's sheet and make sure that your thing that you worked really hard on is there, so that we can make sure to highlight it and be very positive about all the people in the community doing cool stuff. I would like to potentially close it down this week, or at least have it on paper this week, which means one more day. So please do take 5 minutes to do. And that leads to 1.4, which is coming in just 3 months. So,
quick question on that last topic.
Yeah.
It sounds like we decided on a change of process, or like self-merging and sort of, trying to make this work. Is somebody on the hook to actually write that down and make sure that that process for how we update this stuff is reflected?
So Elon points out that within the features repository, the README says the person submitting the PR is basically planning the project for it, so is on the hook. So that still fits. And within the community repo, I can update the README there.
Okay. I just want to make sure that this doesn't disappear into the ether.
Yep. Really? You don't want more tribal knowledge.
Right. So
I'm sorry, David. So let's close this item. So I'm expecting for the next 12 hours these items to be updated, and I will move them to the new space, right? So we have agreed that we won't use Wiki anymore, but we will use the dedicated directories with Markdown files, classic Markdown files, and classic PR files. Is it correct? Yeah? Okay.
Okay. And so all I was going to say is that to be clear, this is the process going forward. If you would like to work on things in 1.4, now is the time to start. So please, there's an item template here. There's exactly how to work on it. Everyone is subject to this, including Googlers. So this is not, one, all equal except for me, that's more than equal. Everyone is subject to this. We are going to have a very defined issue process here that we will all snap to and work in this feature repo with the intent that we won't have to have Mike and Igor at the end of 1.4 doing the hard work of going through and cleaning up everyone's work.
And what about like the tracking of the items that are going to be added to the 1.4? So something like backlog or something like that. So what?
That's what I'm suggesting, right? So what I'm saying is that if something is a kind, I'm proposing, and feel free, community, to say this is too much, but I'm proposing if something is kind equals feature or kind/feature, if it does not have a PR, if it does not have a feature tracking proposal in this feature repo, I propose that we as the community say, sorry, this is rejected until you go do the work. I agree with it. If that's too adamant, then that's fine. Maybe we can be lenient in this first round.
An alternate way to do this would be, say, you're never going to have a P0 or a P1 feature that gets priority with respect to the merge queue and code reviews unless you actually do that work.
I like that even better, right? Like, give them a carrot.
Yeah.
I have a brief suggestion regarding that. So I've thought a lot about like the process that we may implement in starting from the 1.4 iteration. We have discussed that in brief in the mail list. And I may propose also like the brief diagram. Let me share again my screen. This is like the pretty simple diagram that describes the procedure how we will work on the features using the features repo, and how the features from the features repo are going to be added to like the upstream repo, like the core Kubernetes repo. I will share it. And please add it to the notes, and I may share it also in the mail list, and we may continue discussing it there. And possibly, if someone has any questions right now, we may speak about that.
I think sharing it over email would be more helpful because it's not.
Yeah, I also think about that, but unfortunately, I had no time to write the mail before our meeting. Yeah, so let's speak about that after our call, because I suppose the current product management process has to be a bit re-implemented, and starting with the new features repo is the good point to start working on like the new product management process within the community.
And Ihor, Tim St. Clair had asked in the chat, say, what about a single flowchart? So you just awesomely dropped the single flowchart right there. So this is great, and I'm sure that there will be conversations about it, but it's an awesome start. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything more on the 1.3 features and how we get to the 1.4 features? All right. Well, then it turns out, Rob, your timing is impeccable. You arrived just as we are about to do the Cluster Ops update.
So you want me to start that? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yay.
Linux for the win.
So for Cluster Ops has been working regularly on this reference architecture document. We could use help because I think I'm trying to find a place where we can sort of pull, here's the port mappings, here's the services, here's things like that. Now, it's not as clear in the docs as I'd like to see. So I think this reference architecture that we're putting together is going to be very useful. We also identified a Kubernetes OSI model with some layers and things like that. So we're trying to make it readable and generic. So I'm happy with that. I don't have as much time as I'd like to put into it. It needs, we make progress every week, but it's slow going. So please jump in the meetings and help. We decided as a group that there were two other objectives for us in the short term that we want. One is to have some input on 1.4 priorities. And so the team is looking to start doing some reviews and create a process for how we would actually influence 1.4 priorities from an operations perspective. So our meeting today is going to focus on not the prioritization per se, but the process that we're going to make the recommendations. So the process for the process. But I think we'll wrap that up today, and that'll be pretty much, you know, we'll be ready to start analyzing and thinking about what we think, what ops thinks is important from a 1.4 perspective. And one of our goals for people who aren't familiar with cluster ops, I jumped right into doing not what is. Cluster ops is operators coming together, all sorts of different ways to run and install and maintain. And our focus is on building a community around people running and sustaining Kubernetes implementations. And so we want to be the go-to people, provide go-to people for the community when they want to ask questions about, does this work for operators? How should I operate it? You know, that's we want to host those discussions in the meeting so people have a place to go for that. So that's item one. Influencing 1.4 we feel like is a perfect agenda item for us over the next several weeks. And then and we should have enough reference architecture for 1.3 for it to be useful in the 1.3 release and for people to use it as sort of, hey, I'm going to point to this and it'll help me. The next thing down is a Docs Hack Day. So the other thing that the group wants to work on doing is hacking on Docs. We feel like there's operators who would be happy to spend a day doing that. We are going to spend probably 5 or 10 minutes saying what we need as prereqs for a Docs Hack Day. And we'd love to coordinate. We don't need to carry the ball on this one. We would be happy to support, endorse, and then show up. We don't have to have the leadership helm here, but.
So we also just announced a bit earlier that there's going to be a Docs special interest group. So that seems a good place for us to coordinate through. Philip Whitrock wants to set that up, and we'll be looking for community lead anchors as well.
Cool. That would be awesome. So the thing that we're going to spend 10 minutes talking about today is what information we need to do a hack day.
Yep.
So, you know, do we need to do some pre-videos on here's how you contribute, here's how you write to the docs, right? So we're thinking that for that to be productive, we're going to need to have a certain amount of preparatory resources available. And
this is all
then
stuff
probably create those as videos.
Yeah, this is all stuff John Mulhausen has worked on, thought about, and would be happy to help with as well.
That's what. So yeah. So we're looking for assistance with that.
Yeah, actually, John and I were just talking about this yesterday, and we're putting together some of that stuff right now.
Cool. If people are going to be at Dockercon next week, I'm happy to nail some of this out first, face to face. Even if if we want to walk through it together and just sort of say, all right, this is what it looks like, and then decide how to do videos.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Fantastic.
Awesome. All right. 1.3. 1.3 Docs Hack Day. Is that it for Cluster Ops today?
We're going to spend 10 minutes on that. And if people, actually, I'd love to see coordination of the day itself come out of this meeting rather than Cluster Ops. Because I think we want the bigger audience. We're willing to sign up and make sure that there's people actually attend. Because it's not really a Cluster Ops thing, but we want to see it happen, so we're willing to put some time into it.
Awesome. Let's take that discussion to the Docs SIG, the nascent Docs SIG, and then we can come up with a date and share it out here and coordinate across here.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next on the list was meetups and events, because we have a growing group of people that are running meetups. There are now 120 meetups around the world that actually have Kubernetes as a discussion point in them. And Julian is going to tell us a little bit about a new extension of the Meetup work that's happening. But I will first pitch that if you do run or are interested in running a Kubernetes Meetup, there is a Kubernetes Meetup leads mailing list, which has discussion points about interesting things we might do around the globe in the community at local events is probably the best way to describe it. So Julian, oh, and I can pitch Container Days, Hamburg as well.
Yes. Hi there, thanks for having me. I'm Julian from Hamburg in Germany. I'm the founder of the startup Lutze. We are providing Kubernetes as a service to my background. So we are running a lot of local meetups in Germany and throughout Europe, like in Hamburg and Munich and in Amsterdam, for example. And so we figured out that there's a need for more user-focused online meetups. So we took the Docker meetup as a blueprint and created a Kubernetes cloud-native online meetup where we want to have more user-focused topics. And I just heard a lot of topics we can have there or provide there a platform for the new release next week. Could be the first kickoff for this meetup group. Then the hack days was quite interesting. So I will share this link, and I hope you guys can share it and spread the word and send me some ideas. So to get this group much bigger and more traction. So like the Uber Kubernetes meetup for a lot of good stuff. And we have the Container Days in Hamburg as well on the 27th and 28th. So Kubernetes is a big sponsor of us as well. Thank you for that. And we will have a lot of users on the stage. They're telling how they use it and why Kubernetes will be one of the biggest players in the containerized world. So yeah, hope you will join in and we have some good discussions there.
Excellent. And on top of the things that we've been talking about here that might be really good global events and global online meetup things, there are a couple of upcoming topics for the community that we'd love localized help in, one of which is the Kubernetes birthday parties that are going to be upcoming. So I will be sending more information out about that next week, providing Dockercon doesn't suck me into a black hole of conference. And we will be trying to do more local events around Kubernetes' first anniversary of the 1.0 release. And there's also an upcoming Fixit. And TJ was going to tell us a little bit about what an internal Google Fixit looks like and how we can, and then I'll jump in and talk about how we might be able to get everyone around the world through something potentially like your online meetup or other ways to participate over the last week of June in a Fixit. So TJ, are you still on?
Yep, still here.
Awesome. So let's tell us about Fixits.
Yeah, so just as background, Fixits are sort of a Google thing that they've been doing for a while. They do them a few times a year, and it's a time to sort of take a week away from your regular writing new features, designing new stuff, and do sort of a priority inversion. Which is to say work on a bunch of low priority bugs, work on fit and finish bugs, work on refactoring, work on those things that you can never seem to get time to do. And we try to do them often enough so that the overall code quality stays pretty good. We don't build up too big of a backlog of low pri bugs. And so we were looking at having one in a few weeks. And obviously Kubernetes is big part of what a number of Googlers work on. And so the focus would probably be things like I said, low priority bugs. but also testing, improving flakes, adding additional tests where needed if we're missing a lot of coverage, updating unit tests, those kind of things, as well as a focus on developer productivity, because a lot of times that can really pay gains over the long term. Developer productivity in this project is probably code for submit queue, and making sure that the process for sort of once you've submitted code between then and actually getting it committed, improving that speed. So that's sort of the overview of what we typically work on at Google when we say take some time aside for a Fixit.
That's awesome. The couple of things that we're going to try to do within the community part is one, of course, paying attention to the low priority bugs and working on things while as a community that fit sort of this Fixit model is very helpful, and that's more useful for the experienced developers. So we would love to have you all rally around the idea of a Fixit the last week of June. And again, we'll send out more information about this, but there's additionally going to be, to the developer productivity side of this, we're working on a little bit of a program to help with people who are less familiar with the project, getting some of the devs that have been working on Kubernetes a long time to do some guided programs and potentially some office hours to help people who haven't contributed as much and aren't as familiar be able to learn a little bit more during the Fixit toward the next Fixit or the next contribution that they might make. Because one of the things we want to fix in the Fixit, of course, is making sure that we're educating the community as well. So more info on that program as we get it finalized. It will be email again, as well as probably mentioned on next week's meeting, since that will be the week before the Fixit. So fun stuff ahead. Ken, you popped onto video, so I'm wondering if you wanted to, no, nothing to say specific? Okay, fantastic. Does anybody else have anything that they want to talk about from the special interest groups? You're all heads down committing code and making sure that your bugs are squashed, right? All right, cool. If we have no other random open business, which is the next thing I'll call for, and Joe just popped on video. Okay.
Just saying hi.
Oh, just saying hi. All right. Generally, people turn on their video when they have something to say. Okay, so any other random business? Otherwise, we'll end a couple minutes early this week. Will the meetup be live streamed? Oh, yes, the Kubernetes Seattle meetup next week. I don't think it will be live streamed. I think I know the online Cloud Native online meetup will be live streamed because it's all online. But I don't know that the Seattle meetup will be live streamed next week. I can check in with them.
I'll see about bringing a camera. Oops.
Okay. Sarah, we haven't made arrangements for live streaming.
You have not yet, okay. And then at the same time, Rob said I might be able to bring a camera, so we might be able to live stream. There we go.
It's not professional grade.
Well, you know, this is an open source community. We put too much polish on it, and nobody will believe we actually do real work.
So I promise you, I can get you the quality streaming that we did on early OpenStack meetups, where it was you know, a chair with a cam on it.
Fantastic. Okay, well we can look at that. So I do have one more item, which is an introduction of a new team member here within Google. Mike Reuben has been, Reuben, pardon me, has joined us. He's thumbing up here. And Mike, do you want to give a bit of an intro of yourself and what you're going to be doing from inside the team here? Except you have no audio, so we will only introduce you. Yes, you can make faces and or use semaphore flags. Yes. All right, so that's Mike. And at some point when he has audio, we will have him introduce himself. But he has joined as a team manager here, a technical manager here at Google, and is focusing on Kubernetes as well. So someday, yeah, great, thumbs up. That's the very short version. We'll let him chat when he has a mic at some point. All right. Have a lovely week, and I will cross paths, I suspect, with many of you at Dockercon next week. Say hi, reach out. There's a Kubernetes booth. A bunch of the vendors are also, vendors in the space are also going to be at Dockercon. Whoops, that's a Freudian slip. At Dockercon, and we will turn it into a mini KubeCon. There is a workshop on Sunday ahead of time that Deus is doing. There is the Wednesday meetup afterward, and we will try and, bookend Dockercon with all of the Kubernetes love we can offer it.
Can people hear me now? Just curious.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh,
Mike.
Cool. Hi, I'm Mike Reuben. A few people have been asking me what I'm doing. Basically, I have two roles right now. I'm new to Kubernetes. I've been at Google for about 10 years, and I've been doing file systems and storage for about 20. I've got a large part of the Mountain View open source team that are going to be reporting to me, about 20 people, and I'm going to be focusing technically on the storage and the networking going forward with working tightly with Tim, freeing up Tim to do more of a broad scope going forward to Kubernetes. People reporting to me now include the node team, resource management, scheduling, like I said, storage and infrastructure in general. And I've been meeting a bunch of you already. It's been a lot of fun. If anyone has any questions or things they want to do, please direct them to mreuben@google.com. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome. All right, now we will wrap up, unless anybody else has finally gotten their mic working and or has a new agenda or an old agenda item, something. All right, see you all next week, live from Dockercon.
See you, Dave.
Bye.